Welcome to the webinar. We'll begin shortly. There are two methods for listening to this webinar. Select audio from the toolbox on the right side of your screen and select either computer audio to use your computer's mic and speakers or phone call to use your telephone. Dial in with the phone number provided in your webinar confirmation email or the number provided in the toolbox and enter your access code and audio PIN when prompted. If no phone number is listed, you must use the computer audio option. Please submit your questions and comments via the questions panel during the presentation. This webinar is being recorded and will be posted to the webinar archives on IIBA's website under the Learning and Development tab within 5 business days. All participants are muted during the webinar.
Good morning, good evening to our global participants. Welcome to this webinar. I see an overwhelming people joining this very interesting and unique session. I am Raman Pal Singh, your host for today and also the co-chair on IIBA Special Interest Group on Analytics. A bit of housekeeping. You will be on mute while the presenter is presenting, and towards the end, we expect 15-20 minutes to take your questions, which will be taken on first come and which are relevant to subject. Without a wait, I'm glad to introduce our presenter for today, Taranjeet Khanuja, who heads Retail Business Consulting Practice at HCL Technologies and also has 18 years experience as principal consultant, especially those involving analytics. So with that, I pass on to Taran to help us understand what analytics in retail industry means for business analysts. And over to you, Taran, now. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Raman. Am I audible?
Yeah, Taran. Well.
Okay. Thanks, Raman, and good morning, good evening to everyone on the call. I'm very happy and glad to be part of this initiative from IIBA and happy to meet all of you virtually. Look forward to this seminar, and I hope it makes a difference to your careers and provide you some insights into what the retail industry has to offer and how analytics is playing a role in the overall scheme of things as far as retail and the the business industry in in a bigger sense. So without taking much time, what I will do is I'll kind of introduce the agenda, and then we will kind of dig a little deeper into what retail industry has to offer and what we as business analysts can work in terms of going over the business analytics projects in the retail industry. So just to kind of talk set the context up, I'll talk a little bit on the industry, where exactly it is heading. We'll also talk about what are the forces which are kind of shaping the direction and evolution of retail industry. What is the role that we play in the industry to kind of get a strategic advantage, and what is it that we as business analysts can contribute to. And obviously, as Raman mentioned, we will come back to the questions and answers towards the end of the session, and I'll be happy to take some questions from all of you. So retail, retail is an industry where we all by default have been part of it, right? We all consume. And whenever we are consuming something that is being paid for by someone, that is, a consumer transaction which ends up being on the books of retail industry. So if you look at it, it has been steadily growing just because, we all have to spend for our living. We need things that we need for, getting through our day, right from, whatever we do. And given the size of the population that is increasing, we do see an expansion of the industry as we go. So what really is retailer, or how do we really kind of look at that consumption? So anything that we are purchasing or paying for, be it a physical good like a grocery, a, a set of medicines, any set of, tools that you are using, to something like services, which, you go for a haircut, you go and take a membership for a health club, and all those pieces together are going to be part of your consumer spending, which we are calling up as the retail industry. Now, retail industry obviously has been, it looks like a no-brainer that this industry is supposed to grow and it will keep growing, but not so much, because there are a lot of transformation. The retail that we know it today has come a long way from the barter systems that used to be, few hundred and thousand years back. And even in the last 5 years, if you see the rise of, e-commerce, Amazon and likes, Ubers and likes, this industry is always set for a transformation. And what really we want to kind of take away from this, because there is a lot of technology aspects to this transformation, given the tight connection of where exactly this industry goes with the consumers and the forces that are driving the consumer behavior, right? So we do see a technology to play a very important and big role. And when it comes to technology, it also comes to data. And when it comes to data, that's where the analytics and the area you guys are interested in is going to kind of start showing up. So let's understand a little bit more about what is really changing the industry and why we are talking about data to be a form of, at the forefront of this whole evolution journey. So talking about the market dynamics, obviously we all have been talking about millennials, how they are different, they want things differently. So it kind of just shows how the consumer patterns and the retail industry has to kind of evolve to fit the need of people who are going to be in control of the major spending. And hence, what is it that the millennials want? They like to buy on social media. They want things for themselves. They are very price conscious compared to the other generations. And their majority of their shopping happens on a smartphone. And obviously, the other factors are also, bigger in nature. The, how the demographics and the population growth is kind of, different in different parts of the world. Their demand patterns, their likes are different in the different parts of the world. Also, the disposable income. There are countries which are developing countries where, people are becoming more inclined to spend slowly, versus there are mature developed nations where probably there is a skewness in how those spending is being done or the disposable income is being used. And then last but not the least is your consciousness towards the environment, towards health, towards the factors which probably do not count towards the the larger scheme of things, but in in the undercurrents are defining what really a customer picks up from the shelf, and hence it is an impact on how the industry kind of goes in. So if you look at it, all those factors are very diverse in nature, and they need to be considered when we talk about where exactly is the direction of retail going forward. And these forces, along with a lot of other things, are shaping the industry, right? I mean, they're changing the direction or where exactly the industry needs to get its, every company has to get its fair share of the pie of the pocket. Retail has always been considered more of an art, but what we are looking at it more and more is how is it that we can understand that art and convert it into a science, and hence that's basically where the data analytics start showing up and playing a big role. So if you look at the current slide, so the industry is all about what really is this demand patterns and how is it that I can manage my supply patterns, right? So from the demand patterns, your customer preferences are changing. We spoke about millennials. We spoke about how environment is playing a big role. We spoke about how people in different areas are kind of changing and the demographics are changing. So what is it that the customer needs? Customer is actually looking for an ease of shopping, flexibility to shop everywhere I can, and I get to shop when I can. So think about it in terms of your e-commerce channels coming in. Think about it in terms of your mobile apps for shopping coming in. Think about it in terms of your TV remote being able to kind of help you order something which you are watching your ad during your NFL game, and that item gets delivered, or an Alexa which can just kind of order a pizza for you without you even getting up from your seat. So that is what the customer wants more and more. And while that's basically what is defining how the demand is being generated and how retailers can look at generating that demand from the consumer in their favor, there are also internal changes within the organizations and how they work, right? There is always a pressure in terms of what really is my cost to deliver. What is it that I am going to do in terms of getting a person in my store, on my website, download my app, and be ready to kind of interact with me as a company, as a brand that I need to kind of work on. I also need to kind of look at what really, if a customer is coming in my store or on my website or in my app, they look at it and they are able to find something that they wish to purchase. They are able to see something that they like, and they are able to see something that they like and also are willing to pay that price, right? So if you kind of think about in the back, there is a lot of decision making even before the product is being made available for a retailer to make sure that they catch the eye of a customer, as well as they're able to kind of take the share of the wallet from that customer. And obviously to kind of run that business, they need to run that business in a very efficient way. They need to have a control over how the inventory is managed. They are able to kind of spend their money and keep their money in the areas where it's going to help them and help them serve the customer. So all these pieces, which are more from the demand and supply side, obviously are disrupting the way retailers have to think about business. They are kind of every season, every year, everyone has to kind of think about what is it that my customer needs are changing. How do I really kind of get in front of my customer again, and how do I really get their share of business? And for that, what they really do is a lot of art in terms of what is it, can I catch a trend, but also a lot of science in terms of if I see this trend, can I quantify and can I evaluate that trend before I invest in it? And if I have certain trends identified, how do I best optimize my business to take value out of that particular trend, right? And that is basically what keeps changing the direction of the retail industry, direction of a retail company, of how the business is done. And another factor which we will all know, and we all have been pretty much part of it on a day-to-day basis, is technology. The technology or the evolution of that technology in terms of where exactly and what exactly we do is helping us as consumers, and it's also helping retail as an industry in terms of how they connect with you. So we've been talking about mobile apps, the social platforms, the way to connect with the customer, contactless payments, providing your feature for online retail, which is kind of helping raise the expectations of a customer and helping them kind of manage the spending behavior in a good way. At the same time, there are other tools which, like IoT, like advanced learning, like machine learning, like AI, which are helping retailers manage the expectation and provide different ways for the consumers to connect and help run their business better. But why are we talking about all this, right? So as I kind of mentioned earlier, what is it that we can take away from this for our careers or how we present ourselves in the industry as business analysts? And as you would see, there is a lot of data, right? I mean, when we talk about social media, we talk about a lot of data being generated by your sentiments, by what you type, from where you type, who you tag, what are the kind of interest topics that you write about. All that becomes data, which helps retailers to think the art of retail as a science of retail. And that's basically where there is a lot of effort, there's a lot of focus, and there's a lot of money being spent by retailers to make sure that they can get to know their customer better and use that information in a better way. So an analysis of that data, from retailer standpoint is very important because number one, it gives you insights into what is a retailer doing from a different group standpoint. How can I look at my business in a granular way of what is it that the demand that I have been able to generate versus what is it that the demand that I have been able to convert, and what is it that the demand that I will be able to fulfill. It also kind of look at the larger holistic retail trends, as I mentioned earlier, in terms of identifying where is the next big spending. What is it that will get the fancy of a retailer, of a consumer? Also look at what really are those patterns, right? Is there anything that environmental friendly? Is that a pattern that is gaining ground? Is that something which is significantly important for retailers to focus on? Significantly important for my set of customers for which I am positioning my product to focus on, and then alter your offerings accordingly. Make quick decisions about the visualization, because the analytics is not only about the long-term view, right? It is also about your monitoring your business operation. And can I use my data in a way and form which can help me take quick decisions and course corrections so that we are able to make it work for our business and get what is the best possible options at that time. And then obviously, looking at it from a more holistic picture in terms of what exactly are the company's vision and mission, and how is it that my business operations working in line with those. And then also kind of going in terms of actual forecast. We have captured the trends, we know how the business is doing, we know what is it that we are trying to do, and can I project where exactly I should be and would like to be, and then take those actions accordingly. So all those pieces are going to involve a vast amount of analysis and data crunching, what you call as business analytics or data analysis, which is being done in retail industry or in a retail organization on a day-to-day level. So if you kind of look at what really are those retailer areas where they spend their energy from the data analysis standpoint, you see a significant portion of their business spending at least 30% of their time on analytics. And that kind of makes the heart of the overall conversation as far as retailers are concerned. We'll talk about some few examples of what is the kind of data analytics or business analytics are retailers doing as they go from each value through their value chain, as they go from engaging with the customer to the process of selling an item, and as a part of that relationship that they build. So first of all, as far as the overall large term trends are concerned, understanding where the business direction is and what they need to do. There's a lot of macroeconomic research that is being done by retailers, and that could be in terms of looking at the census data, the government records, how the population is moving, what cities are growing, what cities are declining in population, what is the kind of per capita incomes in those areas, and basically trying to find out what are those areas where I need to focus on in terms of location, in terms of products, in terms of my price point, in terms of positioning myself for what is it that my goals are. And then obviously understanding customer, and from the customer engagement standpoint, there are customer relationship management tools, there are social media tools, there are how customer transactions are happening, who are the customers that I am kind of looking at, managing that customer, single view of a customer are the areas where retailers spend a lot of time and energy in. Looking at what really at the demand standpoint, obviously in terms of what really are the kind of products, how am I paying for those products, cost of goods, cost of doing business, looking at the transactions, how the way that we fulfill, what is the cost of fulfillment of those, can I optimize those pieces, is something that we kind of look at from the supply standpoint. And then there is also another aspect of technology, right? So there are components which are always being tested, which are always being piloted to see if there is any significant benefit that these new set of data indicators can be used. They can be in terms of IoT, they can be in terms of mobile app data, and we don't know what comes next, but think about the beacon data, think about how customers are kind of interacting and gathering as much granular about what really the customer behavior could be, which could help us get engaged better as well as sell better to our customer. From the role of analytics standpoint, obviously, as I think I have kind of impressed upon how important analytics is from retail standpoint, and what helps in this is that let's talk about how is it that analytics is going to kind of actually help, and what is it that we business analysts can help in that overall analytics aspect of the business from retailer standpoint. So everything we do will have to be based on an objective. Now, those objectives could be, number one, in terms of looking at the health of my business and monitoring that health of the business, which will evolve into a set of reports, a set of dashboards, which we can kind of track on a day-to-day basis. At the same time, there can be an objective of identifying the next big thing or the next new product which is going to be a fad. There could be an objective in terms of identifying the insights and planning my next strategy. And there could be objectives like testing and hypothesis of whether there is a relation, whether there is a trend that we can kind of quantify and qualify. So those objectives could vary, and those objectives will lead to a different set of analysis. Now, when we identify the objective of what is it that we need to analyze for, we'll end up making the questions. We'll explore how we can test the objectives that we have and provide supporting data for those objectives to kind of provide to either prove them or disprove them. And then those pieces will have to kind of be run with the right set of data, the right set of resources, and help us make decisions. So if you look at it, these pieces, while can be done at a one-off pieces, but the value of us as business analysts come when they can be formed as repeatable processes, which can be taken up again and again by certain individuals from the business functions without without much effort to kind of recreate everything, and that creates a value for both. And how do, as a business analyst, I fit into that whole piece of puzzle? We kind of as business analysts, we always kind of try to bring in the skills that are required in that particular role. And this slide, we talk about what really are those skills that we can look at you as business analysts providing at each stage of this particular objective to decision journey. So we can, when we talk about objectives, can we bring out the structure in terms of problem definition and what is it that we can bring onto the table? Also, can we define and refine the problem statement, scoping it well so that it becomes easier for us to get the work streams and get the actionable activities out of it. The third piece obviously is around the data modeling options. Once we have actionable work streams, we will be able to identify what are the inputs and the outputs, and hence what really could be the dependencies as well as the data pieces that can impact how we analyze our solution set. And once we have identified that data modeling options, there are always different sets of sources of data, right? The order data, for an example, if I'm looking at the data of orders from my customers, what really is the best source for me to get a cleaner and better set of data? And that comes based on the knowledge of the processes, understanding how different business functions and business processes and business systems are interacting with each other, and hence providing us with an opportunity to be on top of, be a leader in terms of identifying what is it that we can utilize as well as the right things to be utilized. And then obviously visualization of data in terms that make sense for a business function, in terms of the KPIs that they need to use, and in terms of what is the way of what is that way of looking at the data that will be more useful for a business function user. So we as business analysts can bring a lot of value by knowing what the business needs, how they need it, why they need it, and what is it that they would like to see to make their decisions. you look at it, right, there are a lot of aspects of the business analysis in terms of setting up any project for business analytics. I would call out that we are not expecting every business analyst to be a data scientist. The data scientist is the one guy who is going to set up those models and drive those insights. But what we as business analysts are going to do is to set up that framework and provide that guidance to the data scientist in terms of so they know what is the right data to be analyzed and the right objectives for which they should be analyzing. So that, I think, is very important demarcation that we should have in our mind in terms of what really is business analyst, we as business analysts are going to do versus something that the data scientists and they are experts in doing it should be doing. What is the opportunity and challenge for all of us? There's always a lot to learn. Remember, retail has always been considered more of an art than a science. And any art, when we are kind of trying to convert into a science, needs a deep appreciation of the art itself, and then bring up the factors that are making that art as repeatable as possible. And that skill is something which is a big opportunity. And the challenge, we all know it really, everything comes with a caveat. So it's a vast area of knowledge. There are so many different functions that we need to kind of think about. The data availability, the level of data availability that we kind of look at is increasing at a very rapid pace. So we definitely need to be sure of what to go for and how do we go for. So what are the key aways for me? If I kind of look at in terms of what is it that I should do if I want to kind of work as a business analyst focused on business analytics, I definitely need to have a passion for data. Can I play with my numbers? Can I kind of run some SQL queries and get to what is the set of data inputs that I need? And I am able to make sense of those data patterns. I really need to be in love with the data and the numbers. And then I also need to kind of start learning those basics in terms of what is it that my problem statement looks like? How do I define my hypothesis? And what are those factors? How do I define the factors that I need to test that hypothesis? And for doing all that pieces, we definitely need to understand the business processes. If I am looking at my customer information, what is the source and how do I get the data? What could be the those exception scenarios in terms of getting that data, and how do I really kind of understand the usage of that data in the next processes is something that we all need to know. And knowing that industry, knowing that function, spending some time to understand the business processes and get acquainted with them is a very important piece in the whole puzzle. And then looking at those data models and data sources. So what are those systems that are kind of involved, interact with each other, get integrated with each other, whether it is ERPs, CRMs, e-commerce, mobile systems, the third-party email service providers, or any transaction information that we get from the retailers and the POS system. What really are those sources, and how can I kind of get the right information out of them is something that I need to be very clear of. And last but not the least, as business analysts, we need to understand the capabilities and the limitations of the tools that are available. Now, I would call it out that I'm not talking about being an expert in how you have to run your regression models and the different tools. But what I am talking about is understanding what these tools can do, so that when you work with the data scientists, when you work with the business analytics developers and programmers, you are in a position to identify the suitability of the approach that they are taking and provide your feedback. And hence, you would be able to add a lot of value when you're working on such projects. With that, I think I'll stop my monologue. I look forward to your questions, and if you have any thoughts, please feel free to write it in your comment box, and we'll be happy to take them.
Thank you, Tarun. Now we move on to the question and answer session. So you can type in your questions on the right side on the panel if you're joining from the web. I've already been started getting a couple of questions. So this first question comes from Shri Vidya. So the question is, in real world, there are lots of issues with data quality and integrity, which business is unaware of and often is in denial. Where can a business analyst start in such cases? Are there or could there be any tools that BA can leverage? So I hope you got the question, Tarun.
Yes, Raman, thanks a lot. So Srividya, I mean, it's a very good question. And, this is where we typically talk about doing a business analytics project before the business analytics project. So while